All right. Well, hello, Rachel. Welcome to the Passionista Podcast, girl. I'm so pumped you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Okay, so the listeners don't know this, but Rachel and I were in a mastermind together. And so the last time we saw each other, we were like gallivanting around Italy, eating gelato, and figuring out how to conquer the world.
That was amazing. That was like the best trip. Oh my
Yes. So cool. So, Rachel, for the listeners that don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name's Rachel Ngom. I'm a Pinterest strategist and lead generation, yes, expert. And we right now live in France, and this business is about a year and a half old. And I've been an entrepreneur on the online space since 2011.
Yeah. But it didn't always start out that way. And I know your story. So I want you to take us back. You and I are similar in that we were both college athletes.
Yeah.
And then we kind of had like an identity crisis and went on this long journey to figuring out what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I played volleyball for 10 years. I played at the University of Illinois. I got a full ride scholarship my senior year of high school. We won the Junior Olympics. I was an All-American. We played in China. I played in Italy. That's really kind of like what my identity was at that point. Like I was an athlete. That's what I was known for. Like that's who I was. And it was sophomore year of high school. I tore cartilage in my rib cage and wasn't able to play anymore. And that was one of like the most difficult times in my life. It was like, that was what I had done up until that point. And it was almost like I felt invisible. Like the coaches didn't really care about me anymore because I wasn't producing. I couldn't do anything. And so it was really just like, what the heck is next? And it was at that point that I became a Christian. And I was at, I think it was Campus Crusade for Christ. They had this big worship with everyone on campus. And we were there. And I just remember the pastor speaking about Africa and having this like just feeling come over me of like, you're going to go there. And at that time I was still on the team. And when you're a collegiate athlete, you can't leave for more than like a week at a time. And I didn't know anybody in Africa. I didn't have any contacts or anything like that. And so I was like, sure. Okay. How's this going to happen? And it was around that time that my grandfather passed away. And so I had to go to his funeral, meaning I had to miss a midterm for international health policy, which was the class I was taking at that time. And that teacher, the professor, she was like the most intimidating professor I've ever had in my life. There's no way in heck I would have actually gone up to her and talked to her ever. But I was forced to because I had to make up this midterm. And she thought I was just some like dumb jock athlete or something like that. She literally made me bring in like his death certificate of like proof of death because she thought I was just trying to get out of the midterm. It was like intense. Yeah, it was super intense. But when I started talking to her, she was like, so you're a sociology major. What the heck are you going to do with your life? And I was, I know, again, dumb athlete. And I was like, well, I really want to join the Peace Corps, go to Africa and like do this whole thing. And she just switched and she was like, you want to go to Africa? I'm going to like get something. I'm going to figure out an internship for you. And so it was literally at that point with my rib injury that I was medically released team, that professor was able to get me a 6-month internship in Kenya. And I went and it was like completely life transforming. God. I can't even explain, it was amazing. So I came back from Kenya, finished undergrad, moved to Senegal, West Africa, where I was there for 6 months, met my husband. Yes. And then I came back after that with him and got my master's in social work at the George Warren Brown School of Social Work. And from there, we moved to Florida. And when we moved to Florida, my husband was starting his business. We bought a new house. I was pregnant, had a new baby on the way. And even though I had my master's from the #1 program in the country, I couldn't find a job in social work. Yeah. So everyone wanted me to have paid work experience. And I had all this like awesome international internship experience and everything, but no paid experience at that point. So only job I could find was cleaning equipment at our local gym for minimum wage with a new baby. And I was like, $700 a month to be away from my new baby. Like, this is not worth it. So we ended up on food stamps, -$400 in our checking account and just like stressed. just like trying to figure out what is going to be our next move. Like I
Mhm.
knew I was meant to do something more and it just wasn't
Mhm.
working out. So I was actually in a network marketing company at that
Mhm.
point, and I just saw other people having success and I was like, they're doing it. Why can't I
Yeah.
do this? And it was kind of like, that was like my switch of like, you got nothing else, dude. Like you need to make this happen.
Really don't have anything else to lose at this point.
Nothing.
Let's just go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
Just go for it. So I kind of went all in and just really put my all into that network marketing company and went from $20,000 a year to $100,000 a year in 2 years, and made it to like the top of the company. And it was awesome. At that point, the company restructured. So they used to sell like DVDs and all this stuff, and then those
Yeah.
became obsolete. So my income was cut in half by like 2017. And it was again like, crap, like what do
I do now?
the entrepreneur roller coaster, like, right?
Gosh, don't we know
So
it?
exactly. So I was like, what the heck am I going to do now? And that's when I found a coach and decided to brand myself, start my own company. So we started Choose Making an Impact August of 2017. 2018 was our first year, and we served over 1,700 students, did over $430,000 in sales.
Wow. Congrats, girl.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Just kind of getting started. So that's where we're at now.
Okay. That was a lot of life, but let's backtrack and unpack it. This is like my favorite part to do. Okay. So Rachel just gave us like her whole adult life history up to this point, everybody.
Pretty much.
Okay? So,
pretty much.
And that was the 30,000 foot overview. All right. So I want everybody to understand that's listening right now. You're like, oh my gosh. Like, and you may immediately think like, oh, well, like that sounded like things just worked out for you. Like boom, boom, boom. Like, nothing was hard, or like you just kind of always figured it out. Like, oh, wow. Okay. So you just decided to do something and you were just like immediately successful. Like, so I want you to speak into, because you talked about the evolution of the entrepreneur. So for you, you go from totally getting your identity wrecked as an athlete. And there's some commonalities in your story. This is one of the things I always like for listeners to understand. If you've been listening to the podcast, you're going to hear women talk about their journey, their time in the wilderness, so to speak. And there's some common things that every single woman has done in order to get to where she is today. And one of the biggest things that I have always seen in you, Rachel, and I've appreciated about you is just your willingness to say yes to God. Like the willingness to risk. Like you're like, oh, Africa? Sure.
Let's go.
You're like, let's go. Oh, Senegal? Sure. Oh, marry a man from another country and just travel all over the world? Sure. Like let's just do it. So can you maybe speak into like that faith, or like what it, like the benefits of being able to risk, and how that kind of like transfers over to your business?
Totally. So you're gonna have to do things that are scary and uncomfortable. So when we were back on food stamps and that whole part back in like 2013, there was actually a program that came out teaching how to do social media, and it was $450 a month for 6 months, which was like $1 million a month.
Yes.
But like literally that's what it felt like. And I just remember going to my husband and like crying, but I had that, it was like that gut feeling of like, I have to do this. And so we just made it work. Like I literally sold all of our bedroom furniture except our bed. Like I sold our TV. Like it was like,
girl, I am
the
so
piggy
glad
bank.
Listen to me. I am so glad you brought that up. Okay. Because I literally had a conversation with somebody about this past week. Like people that say they're so desperate, like they want success so bad. Like, I want to join your course. I want to do this. I want to do this thing. But then they're like, they let that money situation just hang over their head. They're like, I just can't, whatever. And I totally get it.
No,
but
you
like,
make it happen. Like you just make it happen and you find a way. Like I had someone go to a bank and take out a loan to work with me for the year. Like if you want something bad enough, you're going to make it happen. And that's what entrepreneurship's all about. If you have this story over and over again, like I can't afford it, or I don't have the money to invest, you're not cut out for this. Sorry.
Woo! Rachel be preaching, y'all. I hope you heard that. But it's so true. It's like, are you willing to be happy? I'm like, have a yard sale. Like,
yes, you have to.
Like, I just figured out that Amazon, you can sell your books back to Amazon. I didn't even know that. Like,
yes. There's a
do
million
that with
ways.
other
Like
stuff. So it's
I
like, come
sold
on.
everything, like our Xbox, our TV, like everything that wasn't our dining room table, anything that wasn't essential. I sold it on like Facebook buy, sell, trade groups or whatever. But
Yeah.
even now, like you can babysit pets, like do pet watching and make like $1,000 a month. You can do ads, like get your car wrapped in ads for $500 a month. Like there's so many things you can do to just get scrappy, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to. And then, so that was with that business in 2013. And then in 2017, when I decided I wanted to work with a coach, I was making $4,000 a month with network marketing. Working with her was $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So again, it was that like scary, like this is huge investment for our family,
Yes.
but I had that gut feeling again that I have to do this. And I just always listen to that feeling. And even when it's scary, when it's uncomfortable, I'm like, nope, I got to do it. Like, let's go.
Absolutely. And one of the things I always say, like so many people, they'll be like, well, what if? They're like, well, what if I don't, like, how do I know I'm going to get my investment back? Or what if it doesn't work out? I'm like, okay, let's switch that. How about
What if it does?
Yeah, what if it does? Like, or even if it doesn't, what do you think's going to happen? Like, God has got you. Like, you'll get through it. You know
For
what
sure.
I mean? Like,
I feel like any investment that you do, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And so
mhm,
because I put so much like that, I was invested in that coaching program. That first month, I made $3,000 new business. By
mhm,
month 6 or 7, we had a multiple 6-figure company already. And
absolutely.
it was just like I was so willing to be teachable, and I had so much skin in the game. I had so much invested that I just showed up.
Absolutely. And I think that it's about being hungry. It's about how bad do you really
Yes.
want this? Because when
Yes.
you're met with those scary thoughts, it's like, well, what are you really passionate about? And what's your
Yeah.
why? And, I think for you, Rachel, your why has been pretty, like, you're so good about keeping that in front of you. Like, I know that you have a heart for missions, and
Mhm.
that time in Africa and that time in Kenya and all over the places that you've been, that's really opened your eyes to, this is not about me and all my
Not at
issues.
all.
So
It's
maybe
not.
speak into that, like getting your why in
It's
front of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much bigger than just you and your own like petty problems and issues. Like so
Mhm.
many people get in their head of like, what's this person going to think about me? And what if this doesn't work? And yada, yada. Like stop all that BS, like mindset chatter, and just think big picture. Like when your business is successful, what are you going to be able to do? How are you going to be able to contribute? How are you going to make a bigger impact? Like, are you going to be able to build schools, or,
Mm.
there's so many things that you can do to make a bigger difference in the world when you're successful. So stop thinking about yourself so much and start thinking about other people and how you can serve them.
Absolutely, man. That is so, so good. Okay. So to the story. And you've told us like all kinds of amazing stuff, like big risk, like you sold everything in your house, like we're spending $2,000 a month on a coach. So, but what are some other, like, maybe you had like some come to Jesus moments with yourself, or like really, like some hard lessons that you had to learn along the way, or like maybe it was a new habit that like kind of changed the game for you, like to really go to the next level from someone who's just kind of playing around to someone who is really being a serious business owner?
I think it's so much mindset, and that's what a
Mhm.
lot of people don't understand. And I think that's why I was able to grow this business so quickly, is because I've been doing mindset work since I was 23 when I started network
Mhm.
marketing. And
Yeah.
so I'm really grateful for that training that they like instilled in us of like start doing personal development every day. And so
Yep.
when I was 23, they said like read 10 pages of a good book per day. So I did that. And they said attend conferences, and I did that. And like all these things that in the moment, it's like, does this really matter? Like, does reading 10 pages of a book a day really matter? Like, it's easy to do and it's easy not to do. And I was just teachable. And I said,
Yeah.
nope, I'm going to do it. And I think those habits have really served me, like, looking back.
Absolutely. And I'm like from the same walk of life with that. I got
Yeah.
my start in network marketing too, and I was like clueless.
Totally.
Like
You like,
clueless to what personal development and leadership was. And then you get around like the best of the best and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I been
yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I
So
think one of the biggest lessons I learned, because I remember I reached this like really big rank in our company, and that it was like this huge goal. And at that point, I didn't have a what's next. And I learned after that, because like I hit the goal and then I kind of like backslid.
Yeah.
And I learned that you always have to have like that next step, that next goal, that next thing that you're like always pushing yourself to do a little more. So like after I finished that coaching program that we were in together last year, I knew I had to be so intentional about my own personal growth and my own leadership development and having that what's next. So I kind of like up leveled and got like a higher level coach and like joined another mastermind and other things that, because I knew if I didn't, it'd be like I'd lose all that momentum that I built up.
Absolutely.
So having like that next goal, that next step, that next level is really key.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up momentum, because that is one thing that I really feel like, Rachel, you are an expert at. And it's because like you're consistent. Like you just show up, like you just keep doing it. So maybe like speak into that a little bit. And I think like our background as an athlete kind of helps with that. Like isn't it so amazing how God just kind of teaches you everything you need to know? Like you think you're going to be an athlete, and he's like, no, redirect. But everything you learned there, you're going to take into this next season. And it just keeps happening like that.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful that I was an athlete it was like the toughest program in the country, sports performance volleyball. Like they've won more than any other program in the country. So I was really grateful. Like the coach was tough, like super tough, but really instilled discipline in us. So I was always the first person in the gym, the last person to leave. And like little things, like if our bags weren't lined up perfectly together as a team, we had to do push-ups for that. So I remember I was like 15 years old doing 100 push-ups, like 20 push-ups for every space. I left my workout binder in the weight room. I had to do 100 flights of stairs after a 4-hour practice to get that binder back. And you better believe I never left that binder in the weight room ever again. So just like those little discipline lessons of like you show up and you do the work. And that's so key in business. So, you know, I've had people that I'm coaching now that they've been following me since I first started this company. And they said in the beginning, you were posting things on social media and you got no comments and it was crickets. And I saw you and I saw that you kept showing up and you kept doing it. And I see where you are now. So I know that it works. And that's why I want you to coach me.
Absolutely.
So, in the beginning, it's like nothing happens and you're nothing. And so it's like you post and it's crickets. So like,
no one cares. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
No one's watching your live videos. You're just like showing up like, hey guys, it's like, oh, no one's actually watching. Cool.
Talking to yourself for months. And it's just like most people give up and they're like, this isn't worth it. Like, why am I doing this? And you have to know that when you're consistent, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And, you know, so many people stop and start their business and they give up on their dreams over and over.
They lose all that momentum.
They lost all of it.
Oh, it just like drives me crazy when I see people, they go like all in and they hustle, and they do like all this stuff and then they stop. And I'm like, you just lost it all. Like it's better to do like one thing, just do it consistently instead of all the things all at once to get overwhelmed and stop.
That's so good. Guys, if you're listening to that, that's $1 million nugget right there. So rewind on your podcast, rewind the 15 seconds, rewind the 30 seconds, and listen to that again. Like, I think so much of this, like building your business, anything you do in life is just about momentum. It's the compound effect. And doing it even if no one's watching, doing it even if no one's commenting. Because here's what I've also seen is that exactly what you said, people are creeping on you.
Yes. You don't realize it.
You don't know.
Yeah,
they're watching you, for sure. Okay. So tell us a little bit about Pinterest. Okay. So you discovered the power of Pinterest when you were in network marketing and direct sales. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So in my network marketing company, I had built my Facebook fan page to 50,000 followers, Instagram to 20,000, and it worked so well back in like 2014-ish. And then the logarithm changed and everything that was working wasn't anymore. And I was like, oh, crap. And so you'll notice I have a lot of those moments in my business where it's like, oh, crap. Like you got to just like figure it out, pivot, make that pivot and figure it out. So I started posting on my blog and putting it on Pinterest. And I was doing that consistently without like this huge strategy in place. But I noticed my traffic was increasing. And I'm like, where are these people coming from? So I looked at my Google Analytics and I saw I had 34,000 people coming to my blog every month from Pinterest. Wow. And I was like, hold on, this is crazy. So like my email list was growing on autopilot. I was making sales on autopilot. And when I started this company, so it was January of 2018, I stopped posting on that blog. Like I didn't touch it. the entire year. Like I haven't
Wow.
touched it since January of 2018. Didn't touch Pinterest, didn't touch the blog, nothing. My traffic went up over that past year. So I looked at it February of 2019, over a year since I last touched it. Traffic was up to like over 40,000 from Pinterest and like
Wow.
70,000 total, and still getting leads in that business, still making sales on autopilot from Pinterest. So it's just like, it's the power of, again, the compound effect. And Pinterest works for you over time. So the life of a pin is like I think 1,600 times longer than a Facebook post. So like you're working so hard on Facebook and Instagram to post every day and upload your stories all throughout the day. And it's like you're in a hamster wheel and you never get off because you're working so freaking hard. But like, what if you just created content every week on your blog and posted it on Pinterest and had a smarter strategy to generate new leads?
Absolutely.
So that's what it's all about.
Yes. And guys that are listening, I would say, like, I've taken Rachel's course. My assistants help me out with it. Like, they've been through it. Like, it is amazing. And we have seen our traffic increase to like 1 million viewers on Pinterest alone. But like, traffic is now it's my number one. Pinterest drives the most traffic to my website now.
Exciting.
And it's exactly what you said too, Rachel. Like, people will come in like for like freebies that I created like when I first started my business. I'm like, where did they even find that?
Right? It's so crazy.
Pinterest. I'm like, I even forgot that was a freebie I did and then put it on there, you know? And so, but for example, but what if I had quit? You know what I mean? Like, what if I had quit this business and then there's this person a year down the road that found me on Pinterest or however, whatever, and I didn't show up. So like the power of that is huge. But one thing that you always tell people to do, Rachel, is speak a little bit into like the power of Pinterest as a search engine as opposed to Facebook and Instagram. Cause I don't feel like people understand this at all. They're like, well, I just like post recipes. I just look on there for like stuff for my house. Like, really? I put my business on there?
Yeah. So Pinterest is a search engine, which is essential. So when you understand keywords and you can figure out what your ideal client might be searching for, that's when you can really dominate. So just an example, in my fitness business, instead of just trying to do all general health and fitness, I decided to niche down to intermittent fasting for women and keto, eating high fat, low carb. And so the keywords that I was using in my pins and my boards, everything was intermittent fasting for women. And if you search that term, you're going to see my pin all the way at the top of Pinterest with over 100,000 read pins, but you're also going to see it at the very top of Google Images too. And so this is so powerful when you can understand this. Just literally get into the head of your ideal client and think, when they're on Pinterest, what are they searching for? And use those keyword terms.
Absolutely. And it's so important because we think we know what our ideal client is searching for. Like, we're down the road a little bit, but it's so interesting how a lot of times, like, they're not. Like, so I think asking your people, finding out what it is they really want, not what you think they want or what you think, they need or what you want to give them, but what they actually need. And this is one of the things that you helped me with a ton, Rachel, is that niching down. Where I would go in and like type in Pinterest, like, okay, confidence.
Too broad.
Yeah, a little broad there. Okay. Like, or you're going to help everybody. You're going to help them with self-care. You're going to help them with boundaries. You're going to help them with this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, what exactly are you like, people aren't typing that. They're not typing in confidence. I mean, like, and what I have found is, so for me, like, what people were, this took me months to figure out, but the power of Google Analytics on your website, so important. People are actually searching how, my most pinned post is how to speak with more confidence.
Ooh, you see, like, it's very specific.
It's specific.
And so I love that. So one of mine that I use is how to use Pinterest for business. Yeah. So you can see it's a long tail keyword. It's an actual specific phrase that people are searching for, or like how to get started with intermittent fasting, or how to get started eating keto. A lot of like that how-to stuff people are looking for. I think the most searched one when I type in how-to is how to make slime, which is really funny. People are searching for that. I know, totally random. But yeah, those long tail keywords are essential.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's segue into this because this is a big question that I have for you. So one of the things that I love about you, and I want everyone to listen in right now, okay? Because when I first met you, I noticed this because I'm a watcher. I'm very aware. I'm very discerning of people. And sometimes they don't realize it, but I am. And so like at the first, I think, mastermind that we're at in Chicago, I'm just kind of like watching you like float around like a Pinterest archangel. Okay. And guys, also Rachel is legitimately 7 feet tall. Okay.
Okay.
Like,
6'1", 6'1".
Okay. So she is tall, like an angel. She's just like, you're just kind of like float, like you're just like in flow. Like you're not stressed about anything or like you don't appear to be, like you're just chill. You're very relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of us as women, like, and guys, like Rachel is a mom, she's a wife, she's running a incredibly successful, huge business. She's traveling all over the world. Like she's got a lot going on, so in business, like we can just get into this frantic hustle crazy mode, or like forcing it, like we make it happen. And like, we're so like, we've got our claws like dug into it so much. And I think that's one of the reasons why people get burned out and then they wind up quitting. So can you give us some insight into how you just stay so chill and relaxed? Like what are some habits that you, or like some things that you really stay on top of? Like you're one of the most chill people that I know.
Really? Oh, that's so funny.
Like when it comes to business, you're like, oh, like, why don't you just do this? They're like, yeah, we did this. You're like, yeah, it's so big.
Okay. So morning routines. So making sure like I wake up before everyone else and I have that time we like read the 1 year Bible. So doing that, doing a devotional, just having like quiet time. So I think when you wake up and your kid like opens up your eyes and they're like, mommy, 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 that is overwhelming and that's stressful. So I try to be intentional about waking up before my son does and having like an hour of quiet time, which is hard when they're like 1 and 2, but he's almost 6 now, which is crazy. So now it's easier and he can actually sleep in. So that part is definitely a big part of it, but also just making sure I schedule in fun time. So like there's times in my business where I'm like focused and like it's launch time, like let's do this. And then there's times where I'm like, we were just in Bordeaux. Like this year, goodness. Okay. So this year so far, we went to Israel, got baptized in the Jordan River. That was then we went Israel to Senegal. We were in Senegal for 2 weeks. Then I was speaking at a conference in San Diego, and we live in France too. So it's like France, San Diego, France, and then Washington, DC, and then France. And then we were just in Bordeaux. And so crazy schedule, right? Like, and it's just April. But like I took a lot of that time off when we were in Israel and I was pretty much unplugged. Like when we're in Bordeaux, I wasn't working. Like I try not to work at all on the weekends. And even on Wednesdays too, like especially in the mornings, TJ doesn't have school on Wednesdays. And so I try to take that time off too. So like I have specific times where I'm like, focus, let's do this. But then I also have times where I'm like, my phone is not in the bedroom. I put it downstairs and it's charging in a totally separate room. I think like if you have it with you all the time and you're always connected, you're going to get stressed out and you're going to be like, oh crap. And you hear all these dings and notifications and it's like, I don't have Facebook on my phone either. And so I think I've done like a pretty good job of just setting up boundaries for myself.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you said boundaries and not balance, because there really is no such thing as balance. No. It's just priorities. It's just focus. And when it is focus time, it's focus. And what I hear you say, Rachel, is that when you're with your family, you try to do your best to be 100% with your family. And when it's business time, I'm here for business. And it's just focus and priorities and developing that habit of focus and being proactive. It sounds to me like and I know that you're all about automation in your business too, and working smarter instead of harder. Like you're trying to stay ahead of it. You're trying to stay ahead of all of the stress instead of just reacting to everything in your life.
Yeah. So like batching, getting stuff ahead of time. So we're not like
Mhm.
scrambling to get out a podcast episode. It's like, no, we
Mhm.
have a month's worth of episodes. Like we
Yes.
don't even have to worry about that. Like that's always been like kind of my thing. Like I was never a person to like stay up late and study. It was like I had to study like 2 weeks before because I'm a
Mhm.
grandma and I want to be in bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So like when people are pulling all-nighters, like there's no way.
You're like,
So
this
like
does not make sense. Yeah.
no. So like I just get stuff done ahead of time. I batch it. And then I have an awesome team behind me too
Yeah.
that I've really learned to delegate, and anything that's not in my zone of genius, I'm like, nope, gotta like get this off my plate.
Yeah. Because you
Anything that
so
doesn't bring me joy either, like I'm like, no, I really don't enjoy doing this anymore. Like I'm like, I gotta delegate this.
yes, that's so, so good. And, you know, for those of you that maybe are you're solopreneuring it right now and you don't have a team, I want you to look at, because I think we try to do everything all at once when we're first getting started. Like, just pick the one thing. Like, and what's the thing that's going to give you the most like return on your investment?
Mhm.
So like Pinterest is a great start. Like if I had to do it over again, I would have started Pinterest like way, way, way before, because that's going to, especially it's going to give you free leads. It's organic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
first, like if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have somebody helping you, even if you think you
absolutely.
can't afford it, like do
Figure it
it.
out. Again, figure it out.
Figure it out because you
Mhm.
can't afford not to. You know, like with
Absolutely.
like little tech things that hold everyone back, you could hire someone to do that for like $7 an hour.
I
And
know.
it's just ridiculous that you try and spend all these hours trying to do it yourself, you
So,
know?
so true. So, so true. Okay, Rachel. So we are just about out of time. I've got one more question to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is like the one thing that you want women to know about life, about business? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. But like if there's something in your heart, like that you're like, gosh, I want women to understand this. Like I want them to know this. What would it be?
That God has a huge plan for you and a purpose beyond what you even think is possible. And I
Mm.
want you to dream even bigger. So there's one, I'll have to find the quote and give it to you, but Craig Groeschel has this quote where he actually said it in a sermon. And as he was saying that, I was like pausing it and taking notes. But
Mhm.
it's like we're faith-filled, big thinking, like risk takers, like we'll never insult God with small dreams, or like, I'll find it.
That's
But
so good.
it was so good. It just makes me think like I've been playing it too small. And I think a lot of us were playing too small. And I want you to think even bigger and set your goals so big that you can't do it on your own. And it's going to take
Mm,
like, divine spiritual help to get you to that place.
absolutely. And I think I think one of the reasons that we don't do that, or that women don't do that, is one, we've been told to be small all of
Yeah.
our lives, to be quiet, to just hang out and not dream too, you know, just be content. Okay. Um, and it's like, we don't feel like we're allowed to, like, is God, like, we're really, the question is God really that good?
Hell yeah.
Like, absolutely. Like, oh my gosh, like God is perfect love. He is totally abundant. And one of the things that, you know, I always ask when I'm like, why not? Like,
Yep.
why would God not want you to have your dreams?
Yeah.
Like, if he put them in your heart, like if they're God-given dreams, like they're there for a reason.
Yep.
Okay. So like we've got to trust that and go after it. So, okay, Rachel, this has been amazing. There's so many amazing nuggets on here. Passionistas listening, y'all need to rewind this over and over again. But tell us, Rachel, what do you have coming up now? Like where can people find you, and what do you have coming up now that people can be a part of?
The She's Making an Impact podcast, and then
Okay.
you can hang out with us at shesmakinganimpact.com. We're going to be launching our group coaching program Activate in July. And
Okay.
so that's coming up, and doing Pinterest management as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a lot coming up, but you can check me out on the podcast and the blog and all that good stuff.
Yes. And I'm going to put a link to your course, Pen with Purpose.
Yeah.
Was that correctly? Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to put a link in there as well, because I think when you say that's a great start for people that have no clue how to
Totally.
use Pinterest and how to utilize it for their business. And I love it
For
as
sure.
well. So cool. All right, Rachel. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.